Please welcome American businessman Donald Trump Jr.
Thank you, man. Oh, thank you. No, it's great. Wow. It's pretty good. I thought I was just talking crap on social media these days, so it's good to know I still have a day job. Well, thank you so much for the warm welcome. It's great to be back here in Colorado, a state I have a lot of affection for. Many people don't actually know this, but when I graduated from the Wharton School of Finance, I moved to Colorado to be a bartender. True story. It's like AOC, but then I got a real job before I got into politics. I did that for about a year and a half, and you can only imagine how that conversation went with my father. You think getting something through Congress these days is difficult. That was rather rough, but we did it, and it's really great to be back here. Thank you so much to everyone for hosting us here today and for doing this. I think it's such an important message to be able to get out, and it's great to see so many, especially so many young people out here. I've spent so much time on the road with Charlie Kirk, someone I met on the campaign trail early 2016, that I think he actually stole half of my speech. So if we're a little repetitive, it's all good. I'll take it out on him later. But he's doing a wonderful job and really getting kids before they're turned, before they're indoctrinated by the left, which is just a very cognizant attempt of what's going on in high schools, in colleges, and honestly, with what I've seen with young kids of my own, even in elementary schools. I have 5 young kids, and some of the stuff that I've seen pushed on them. I saw that look, sir. Yes, 5. I know how that happens now. Got a new hobby. Figured I'd get into politics, and that's changed that a little bit. But I want to make sure that the America that we all grew up in, the freedoms that we all have grown to love, that have been around from the days of our founding fathers, are there forever. So it's great to see that, and again, it's great to see so many young people here on a Friday night, rather late, being into this, because I can't think of anything that's frankly more important. So now I know when I came out, and before I agreed to speech, I said, hey, you can't really sort of come out and endorse a candidate, because there's all sorts of craziness with the 501c3 rules and all that stuff. So I said, have you seen my Twitter feed? So I'm going to do my best to be impartial. So in doing so, my best may be a total failure, but that's okay. In doing so, I'll start with Donald Trump lied to you. Right? Yeah, he did. He said, see, that once I do this, then I say how it's totally impartial, because then the rest can be glowing, but I said he lied to you. In 2016, he said that you would be sick of winning. Show of hands, is anyone sick of winning? I'm not either. I don't know. I didn't get it. I was like, where's he going with this thing? And then, I sort of got it, but I don't think anyone's sick of winning. And man, it's great to see someone actually win. I know Charlie touched on it, and it's true. Imagine a politician with the track record of accomplishment that he has done in 2.5 years with no prior political experience, having never run, not having the Rolodex, not having the teams, having self-funded a primary. All right? 6 million new jobs. If Obama lost 200,000 jobs, they'd be like, he's doing great. It's wonderful. 6 million new jobs. No credit. We talk about GDP growth. 3.2% in the first quarter. Unheard of. First quarter is usually the worst quarter anyway. But in 2016, candidate Donald Trump went around and said, well, we're at 1.5%. Why can't we be at 2, 3, 4? Why can't we do better than all of that? And I remembered it because Barack Obama goes, you can't do that. Remember this one? There's no magic wand for that, Donald. Well, abracadabra. Guys, I'm sitting there watching, because it was a little different for Obama, right? Like I said, if he lost 200,000 jobs, he was the greatest economist in the history of the world. when he said those kind of things, the New York Times and the media lackeys of the left came out and said, no, 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 he's right, this is the new normal. Right? Trump took all sorts of heat for it because he said, why can't we do better as a country? And he did. And now Obama runs around and says, well, remember where that all started. Because we all know that oppressive taxation, hyper-regulation, and a general sentiment of quote unquote, you didn't build that, that doesn't exactly work for business, right, guys? That doesn't instill confidence. So what's always interesting is I watch when the media reports, well, the stock market grew X number of, 10,000 points since Donald Trump took a... They don't talk about the 4,000 points that was gained between Election Day and inauguration, right? There's a 3-month period where America, where American business, where entrepreneurs said, we finally won't have an enemy in the White House. All of those stats, they don't even get counted into the record because that's when consumer confidence took off. At about 6 a.m. on November 9th, when people woke up and said, wow, maybe we'll stop giving up 200 years of hegemony to our enemies. Maybe, as crazy as it sounds, putting America first with American taxpayer dollars shouldn't exactly be a foreign concept. No, I mean, think about it. I woke up during the campaign. Well, these people in far-off lands, many of whom hate our guts, many of whom have been the beneficiary of stupid American policies for decades, they're saying it's terrible that Donald Trump would think about putting Americans first. I don't understand. There hasn't been a civilization that has survived in history that didn't put their citizens first. In fact, every day, when I get on a plane to fly around the country and talk, the first thing I hear is, fasten your seatbelt, and in the event of an emergency, when the oxygen mask's down, put yours on before helping those around you. Why is that a foreign concept? It's nuts. And that's what we've gone, and we've seen the level of insanity. We've seen it grow and grow and grow to the point that you have an American president with the greatest economic track record in modern history that gets 97% negative coverage from the press. Think about that. I say, if you were a rational being, which I think many of you are, you would say, 2020's over. 2020 should be over by any reasonable standard. I go with Charlie, we talk on college campuses where the administration sort of forces the haters and the pundits into the room that are just going to sit there and try to disrupt it and make it difficult, and that's fine. We're not looking for safe places. We're more than happy to have a rational argument, but they're not capable of doing that because facts don't exactly work in favor of the left. So they scream, they rant, and they rave. But think about that. 97% negative coverage. 2 years, Russia hoax, right? First it was collusion, that failed. Then it was, obstruction, that failed. Then it became something else. What was it? It was a cover-up, that failed. So now they're going back after his tax returns. I'm like, guys, come on. Have a little bit of decency if you're going to pick up these things. But beyond the economic things, when I ask those groups, young haters, college kids, like many of your peers, right, ladies? Screaming, ranting, raving. Okay, do me a favor. Name one economic metric where we are not better off today than we were 3 years ago. Is, I guess that's a response. I'm not sure if it's a valid one. Give me one. They literally can't do it. And yet, that's the stuff that we're up against on a daily basis. But it's not just the economy. Think about it. The first president to actually deliver on his promises, a promises made, promises kept agenda. Why don't the politicians who make promises that they have no ability, no intention, and don't ever deliver on, why don't we give them a little 97% negative coverage? Why is that totally acceptable? But the guy that actually does the things he said he was going to do, He gets killed for it. It's asinine. Now, like I said, it's not just the economy where he's won. Look at the foreign policy wins. Think about moving the Israeli embassy to its rightful home in Jerusalem. Now, every president in my lifetime, and I'm getting pretty old, has campaigned on this. They've said they were going to do it. Bush, Clinton, other Bush, Obama. No one did it. No one did it. This is something that passed the United States Senate 99-0. Someone was sick that day. Think about that. But when Donald Trump starts doing it, two things. It was going to be the start of World War III. You all remember this, right? It's like, wow, it's pretty big news. You wouldn't think that the cause of World War III would pass the United States Senate 99-0, even in crazy 2019, right? You would think that would be a problem with them. And then it was billions, not millions, but billions of people were going to die if this happens. Well, what actually happened? Anything? The answer is basically nothing, but if I say nothing, the media will criticize me because 3 people threw rocks for about 14 seconds, and then it was over. But what happened? The world watched. The world watched as we got our resolve back. Okay? The world watched as America took its rightful place as the leader of the free world. How about the Iran deal? Even the proponents of the Iran deal say, all it was going to do was really slow things down, but we kind of know it, and we gave them $150 billion. Not million, billion, in pallets of cash. Now, people say, you're a Trump, you speak in hyperbole. I go, no. It was actually pallets of cash that were flown over there. Think of how insane that is. Imagine anyone being dumb enough to want to give the world's leading state sponsor of terror $150 billion in cash. I say that was one of the stupider moves ever. The only one that was stupider was, like I said earlier, when Obama tried to take credit for Trump's economy. I said that was the stupidest statement in the history of both politics and economics. And that's actually saying something. There's been a lot of dumb stuff said. The Iran deal is a close second, but we pulled out of that. How about North Korea? What was there? Missile tests or underground nuke tests every 4 days or something like that on average? We're not seeing that now because we're making progress. But when Donald Trump started talking about doing that and saying, well, we got to get in there. We got to have these conversations. We got to open up dialogue. Things that rational people would do, people who've actually had experience in the real world would do. The great pundits. Now, they call themselves, these, incredible diplomats and negotiators. They say, no, Donald Trump is doing it all wrong. I say, why? No, he's doing it all wrong. And I know because I've been dealing with this issue for 50 years. I'm saying, wait a minute. You have been in charge of this issue for the United States for 50 years. You haven't even gotten a meeting with the other side. You've never even been in the room with the guy. So, the old Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result? That's what it is. And these guys are saying, he's doing it all wrong. Well, guess what? He's had meetings. We're making progress. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. And they can't get over it because of the mentality that's been instilled in them. The reality is, the left hates Donald Trump much more than they love America. Because they would much rather see America fail with him at the helm than it succeed. It's crazy. I mean, think about, again, the Russia hoax. When in your lifetimes could you imagine that either party would be incredibly upset that the President of the United States did not, in fact, collude with the enemy? Think about that. The outrage when that went away, it's nuts. But that's not all that's nuts. When I look at the attacks on our free speech, on our freedoms, on our religious liberties, the attempts to silence us. It's pretty scary. I mean, the best example that I could even talk about, and there's countless, was just this week. You had a sitting member of Congress, Frederica Wilson. She went out and said, people who mock congresspeople online should be prosecuted. For the side that keeps saying, oh, everyone's really, they're Gestapo tactics. This is, imagine that. This is the left saying they want to prosecute people for having an opinion to Congress. Now, imagine Congress giving us the material that they give us and us not being able to mock them mercilessly. I couldn't do it. Just lock me up. It would be impossible. But that's just the first step. So it makes all their other soundbites of, no, we're not trying to take your guns. No, we would never try to silence you. Makes it all sort of go away when you have sitting members of Congress in power, the same people that are yelling and saying that we're fascists, actually saying we should lock you up for criticizing your government. That seems like it's one of the basic tenets of American democracy. That's why we have elections. That's why we have the ability to be able to criticize your leadership. But apparently that criticism can really only go one way. And we've seen that. We've seen that in big tech. I was one of the first guys to start hitting this about 2 years ago, saying, man, I'm looking at my Instagram platform about 2 years ago, and I said, that's weird. I had about 75 million impressions in a given 1 month period. I had 0 new followers. I'm saying, listen, even bots alone, it's a statistical impossibility, right? That you had 0. So I went from 15 a week to 12 a week to 10 a week. I'm just watching it sort of shrink, and I get down to 1 week where I hit 0. I have a little bit of the Trump gene. Let's call it Tourette's of the thumbs. I got on there. I can say that, right? It's okay. It's okay. I said, this is kind of a big deal. And when I did it, the outpouring of other people, such as yourselves, many of the people in this room, hey, they're doing the same thing to me, I saw that. Then the second that happened, all of a sudden, numbers go back up because they got caught in the act. I had it happen to me earlier this winter when some of the Jussie Smollett stuff came out. I was one of the first people, with something to risk because obviously this was a gold mine for the left. It's like, oh, this person was attacked. It was too good to be true, right? This is like their dream. It was like the Covington kids. Wait a minute, you had white Christian males from the South, like they attacked a Native American. This is gold. They've been waiting for something like this to happen for years. I go, I don't know. We should probably hear it all the way out. So the Jussie Smollett stuff is going on. And I was one of the first people to say, listen, if it's true, lock those guys up and throw away the key. But it seems a bit weird to me. Let's go through what seemed weird. I go, it was literally the coldest night of the year in Chicago. A really rich activist actor randomly decided to go get Subway at 2 in the morning. Seemed pretty plausible. 2 white guys wearing MAGA hats were walking around downtown Chicago randomly carrying a noose and bleach. Maybe. Anything's possible. It's not looking good, but it's possible. They managed to live for more than 3 seconds before being shot because they knew that this guy was going to do this rather than order seamless. So I started saying this, online. Oh my God, Donald Trump Jr., he's perpetrating a blah, blah, blah. I go, I don't know. I'm asking a simple question, and I started getting killed. Then, so I put up this post on Instagram. You've been taken down, this is whatever. I get the note from them, you're violating our community standards. I didn't say anything. It wasn't even political. I just said, I don't know, it sounds kind of weird. We should really get to the bottom of it. It's weird that he doesn't want to give the phone conversation. He doesn't want to talk about who he's there. He left this thing on. Just none of it added up to me, but I had the gall to question it. So my post is taken down, and again, I got that gene. It took me 41 years to realize I was much more like my father than I had ever given myself credit for. So I go, yeah, we're just not going to go quietly on this one. So I hit that one, put it out there, put it up again with rather longer and aggressive commentary. And these guys come back to me. And hundreds of people took the time to reach out. Hey, Don, the same thing happened to me. They're sending me videos. I tried liking a post, and this wasn't even that post. It's like a post with me with my kids. I tried you see the little heart go up. My girlfriend, Kimberly, she's at home. She's like, Don, I tried. Thank you. She's great. I'm putting this post up, and she shows me. She's like, I'm liking it, disappears. I'm liking it, disappears. Liking it, disappears. Other guys, Don, I've had to follow you 6 times this week because every time I go to check, I'm no longer following you. But I am following some leftist account that I never even attempted to follow. And so I started using it to call it out. And when I saw what was going on, the amount of people, and think about this. This is hundreds, if not thousands of people reaching out to me. So A, they saw my post that's already being shadow banned, it's already being minimized, it's already being this. And they took the time to actually reach out. Imagine how many people it's happening to. If big tech's doing it to me, kind of a loudmouth, imagine what they're doing to you. Imagine that power. And to me, it just seems like a dry run for 2020. What can they do to minimize the efficacy of what we were able to do in 2016? What can they do to suppress our voice? Because they're doing it. Because notice, you've probably heard all of the conservative speakers here talk about it today. How many of you in your room have seen it or know friends that it's happened to? Deplatforming, demonetization, just blocking, being locked out of your accounts. You know what the one thing you never hear? You never hear about it from the other side. Not once. It has to say something. The power that they wield is rather scary. So it was great. We were able to do a really cool social media summit yesterday at the White House, and it's great to finally see some Republican members of Congress and the Senate actually latch onto this issue because the U.S. Some of those guys are it's free markets. No, it's not. These companies get all these protections from the U.S. government, shielded from liability, et cetera, et cetera. You can't do what they're doing. If they want to take those liabilities, okay, do what you want. It's a private company. But it's great to finally see conservatives realize that this is an issue, and more importantly, realize that it's an issue with the base. When I travel around the country and I've gone and done the midterms and all these things, this is like a top 3 issue with a lot of the conservative base, and a lot of leadership didn't even realize it or doesn't even realize it. So highlighting that has been so important to me. You've seen that, again, with the media and the nonsense that it is. No matter what it is that you say or no matter what it is that you do, you're automatically, if you praise Trump, you must be a racist. I mean, I've been called a racist every week for the last 2 years. I'm sitting there next to Kimberly at night, happens to be a Puerto Rican woman. I'm saying, man, I must be really bad at this racist thing because, I don't know, can you... Anyway, she kind of finds that funny. Goes over like a lead balloon in some places. But that's what it is. There's a constant trying to brand conservatives as something. Meanwhile, the tolerant left, you see what's going on. Not so tolerant. The only thing they seem to be tolerant of these days is flagrant anti-Semitism in Congress. When you see what's going on there, again, rather scary, especially given the narrative that they push. I think the most important thing we've been able to see out of this administration has really been just an attack on that nonsense, trying to bring common sense back to D.C., because that doesn't exist. Common sense has disappeared. Okay? My father's tried it, taking on the Johnson Amendment, which prevents so many people such as yourselves, your pastors, from speaking their mind without fear of reprisal. I mean, that was an amendment that was literally passed by essentially a leftist to try to silence a conservative. It was literally revenge legislation, but it's been kept. Because the other thing that Donald Trump has taught conservatives is that you don't have to take the loss because the other side wants you to. You don't just have to give up crawl into a corner and die, because that's what they want. You can actually fight back. You can do it effectively. Conservative values are working. They are winning. And we are winning this debate. We're winning so many of them. It's been great to see. When you talk about religious liberty and you talk about, Obama weaponizing the judicial branch to take on the little sisters of the poor. Think about that. Imagine Donald Trump took on the little sisters of the poor. How do you think that would read? Even if the left hates them, they'd still make a big deal of it because, it's sort of hard to attack nuns, right? They would do it anyway. It's that hypocrisy that I think real Americans are finally able to see through. It's that hypocrisy that hardworking Americans who love the American dream, they're finally getting it, because despite the shadow banning, despite the censorship, despite the mainstream media being the marketing wing of the Democratic Party, real people see it. They see it in their results. They see it in their jobs. They see it in the hiring in their towns. They see that America is finally an importer of the American dream. For the last 50 years, that's been our only net export. We've sent that away, again, to far-off lands, to countries that hate our guts, hate our freedoms, hate our values, hate our religion. If they could push a button, they'd wipe us off the face of the earth in a second. We've been exporting our American dream to them, but we're finally bringing it back. We're fighting for Americans. We're fighting for our freedoms. We're fighting for our Constitution. And that's why it means so much to be here, to be with this incredible group of Americans who feel the same way. Because again, it's not easy. I get it. I see it every day. I take a lot of heat for it. I'm a little vocal. I'm a little outspoken. I'm okay. That's not as easy for everyone else. But what's really nice is I'm seeing that message come out. I'm seeing it in strange places, places that we're not necessarily supposed to see it, whether it's New York City, all these places, these people. It's kind of the subtle high five, the little thumbs up. They may not vocalize it yet. They're afraid because there are consequences to being a conservative. They've been put in that corner, but we saw that too. We saw that in 2016. I called it the ghost vote, right? No. We'd go around. We do online polling and we do telephone polling. When people called on telephones, I'm writing in Jill Stein. I go, really? Is anyone really writing in Jill Stein? Really big number of people writing in Jill Stein. I don't know. Maybe they're crazy. But online, the way people would be, all by themselves, just like in a voting booth, we performed 15 points better. Now, statistics would never allow you to dictate that two large sample size polling things would come that close, be that disparate. But they were, because the media had put those people in a shell. So on election day, there's a couple places that we were going, and they're going, man, it's not looking good, Don. We're down 12. I go, we're supposed to be winning that one. What do you mean we're down 12? I go, tell me about it. They go, well, this many people say they're voting for Hillary, this many people are saying, and this many people are doing this. I go, I won't vocalize it. This is a very nice Christian crowd. So they may have been giving us a single-digit salute. I go, wait. Put that guy in the Trump corner. Congratulations, we're up 3, and we were. Because the media had done such a good job of putting people in their place. If you voted for Trump, you were racist. It's not that you wanted better jobs. It's not that you wanted to be able to invest in your business. It's not you wanted the American dream back in your country. You're obviously racist. We're not talking about race. It had nothing to do with a racial issue, but that's what it was. And so we saw that. But today, those people are feeling more free, more vocal because of the results. We're winning, and we're not sick of winning, and we're not going to stop. And that's why this next election is so important. That's why we need everyone to be on the front lines of this fight. Because with another 4 years, we can drain that swamp a little further. Don't worry, it's going, but they're not going easy. These people have been there for decades. Hey, look at the other field. I love watching some of the Democratic frontrunners. They talk about They're campaigning on, think about how crazy this is. And this shows also the bias in the media, right? Government has failed you. I love when Joe Biden says that one in particular. He goes, Joe, I agree with you. Government has failed us miserably. Joe, you've been in government for 50 years. Like, maybe you're part of the problem. I don't know. But no, crickets from the media, you know. Hunter Biden flies over with Joe, goes to China, comes back with $1.5 billion. He's a journeyman investor. He's never done anything. The greatest Wall Street minds in the world have gone to China for decades. Takes them decades, if they ever get a single cent of investment. Hunter Biden comes back with $1.5 billion because he's this great investor that no one's ever heard of. No problem. Joe comes out, China's not a problem. What do you mean? Maybe you've got a little vested interest in saying it's not a problem. I will say, imagine Donald Trump Jr. flew to China on Air Force One with my father. Imagine I came back from China with $1.5. Not $1.5 billion, just $1.5. You think it'd be a problem? We would solve the problem of the liberal media because their heads would explode, there'd be none left. That is what we're up against. Thank you so much. Thank you for being incredible warriors in this. It's an honor to be here, and it's been amazing. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Please welcome the chairman of the Western Conservative Summit. Here's Jeff Hunt.
Thank you, man. Thank you, guys. Oh. I like that one. Now, obviously, this is a bipartisan group, but you realize that if this was a liberal thing, they'd throw you out of the building for saying that, right? Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, man. Thank you. That's great.